I'd like to call the Board of Administration meeting to order, and the first order of business is roll call, please.
Good morning. Henry Jones.
Here.
Teresa Taylor.
Good morning.
Margaret Brown.
Excused.
Rob Fechner.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Frank Rufino for Treasurer Ma.
Present.
Lisa Middleton.
Present.
David Miller.
Here.
Stacy Oliveris.
Here.
Irena Ortega. Jason Perez. Ramon Rubacava. And Lynn Pequin for Betty Yee.
Okay, thank you. The second item is approval of the timed agenda, so if we could move by Mrs. Taylor, second by Mr. Fechner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the item passes. The next item is Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Mrs. Ortega to lead us in the pledge.
Please begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you, and good morning again. To start our day, we're going to listen to the beautiful voices of our very own CalPERS chorus. Board members, would you please take a seat in the audience for this performance? So, please.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all. With those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoe and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. Long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoe and hearts will be glowing when be coming down the chimney down. It's the holiday season, and Santa Claus has got a toy for every good girl and good little boy. He's got a great big bundle of joy when he's coming down the chimney down.
When he's coming down the chimney down.
He's got a big fat pack upon his back.
And lots of goodies for you and for me.
So leave a peppermint stick for old Saint Nick, hanging on the Christmas tree.
It's the holiday season.
It's the holiday season, so whoop-dee-doo and dickory-dock. And don't forget to hang your sock, 'cause just exactly at 12 o'clock, he'll be coming down the chimney down. He's got a big fat pack upon his back.
And lots of goodies for you and for me.
So leave a peppermint stick for old Saint Nick, hanging on the Christmas tree.
It's the holiday season.
It's the holiday season, so whoop-dee-doo and dickory-dock. And don't forget to hang your sock, 'cause just exactly at 12 o'clock, he'll be coming down the chimney, coming down the chimney, coming down the chimney down.
Happy holidays!
Okay, how about another round of applause for our chorus? Thank you. As part of the duties as board president, our governance policy calls on me to produce an annual report reviewing the progress we have made in implementing governance reforms and improvements to board effectiveness. I'd like to do that this morning, and I'm pleased to say that we have significant progress to report. As many of you know, we set a goal of assessing our strengths and identifying opportunities for us to enhance our governance and our performance as a board. We did this through surveys and interviews that had 100% participation from all board members serving at that time. The findings from our work included a list of qualities that unite us as a board and an even stronger list of areas that we felt needed to make some improvements. Many ideas emerged on how we could enhance our governance and be more effective in our oversight role of the system. We landed on 5 key areas, or work streams as we call them. They include education of the board, particularly new board members, roles and responsibilities of the board, our meeting schedule, committee structure, and meeting materials, how we can conduct ourselves as board and board members, and lastly, a focus on innovative technologies to help keep us informed during those times that we're not in this meeting room. Last January, I appointed board members to each work stream and asked them to set forth recommendations to their colleagues that would help improve governance and board effectiveness. As an investor, CalPERS has known for a very long time that good corporate governance of public companies drive good performance. In the middle of our work, new evidence showed that's true for public pension funds as well. The Center of Retirement Research at Boston College issued a study in August. The research shows that public pension funds with good governance also have the best performance. So in summary, here are the accomplishments of our work. We enriched our board education program by developing education models for each committee, starting with the investment committee. We held workshops on our total fund approach, risk and return basics, fixed income, public equity, and this month, private markets. We adopted Rosenberg's Rules of Order as the parliamentary authority for the meeting of the board and its committees. We consolidated our 2 strategic offsites into one and introduced a new stakeholder forum that will be held next month to facilitate greater dialogue between our key stakeholders and members of the board. We streamlined our committee meeting schedule into at least 4 meetings per year to provide more time for our teams to carry out the day-to-day operations of investing our assets and delivering health and retirement benefits to our members. We established a consistent committee structure that will provide the full board with improved due diligence through a deeper level of review before they are recommended to the full board. We also began the development of a code of conduct that we will continue to explore and refine in 2020. And finally, we created a new dashboard of vital signs called Insight that will give the board the essential information necessary to carry out its oversight responsibilities. This is a tremendous body of work that we should all be proud of. And I want to also thank each of you for your commitment and your time for putting these reforms together. I also want to thank the stakeholders for their feedback along the way, and to Marcy Frost, Ann Simpson, Matt Jacobs, and NACD for your leadership and guidance over the last 12 months. I look forward to our continued work and collaboration in the next year. So again, thank you, my colleagues, for your work on that, on those issues. Now I'd like to take a moment to recognize a member of our board and a member of our leadership team who are both departing CalPERS. Let's start with Mona Pascal Rogers, the representative from the State Personnel Board. She has only been with us for about a year, but her contributions in such a short time have been significant. Mona has brought extensive knowledge to CalPERS as a veteran political advisor and strategist, having directed presidential, gubernatorial, and local campaigns across the nation. And she has always served as a strong advocate for our members and employers through some difficult issues. So Mona, would you please join me on the stage? Where is Mona? Oh, there she is. But thank you, Mona. And on behalf of the full board, we want to present this resolution to you for your services to CalPERS. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, okay. So I think, let's wait just a minute. No, you can't just leave like that.
Thank you so much. And to this board, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. Thank you so much. In a year, you've taken a political English lit major who was really afraid of numbers. Sorry, Ben. Into a world I never expected. I have learned so much from each and every one of you, from the stakeholders and the staff, about how hard all of you work for our people who, they take these jobs and they count on us in their retirement or when in tough times. I've seen you all reach out to people individually, and please know that is extraordinary. Not a lot of people do that. I've seen board members, help each other. I've seen spirited dialogue, and in all that spirited dialogue, it was to be better. And so I appreciate you. I'm going to take everything that I've learned, and I've learned a lot, in my next adventure. And I always know this, that, when you have a great opportunity and you have an opportunity to move so somebody else can step aside, do it. And so it's my hope that whoever steps in to represent the State Personnel Board will be smarter, but will also recognize the great work that all of you do. Thank you so very much.
Okay, and thank you, Mona, and we hope that your next endeavors from moving forward will be as successful as your contributions have been to us so far. Next, I'd like to honor our Deputy Executive Officer for Customer Service and Support, Donna Long. Donna has played a major role at CalPERS. She has served us 21 of the 35 years of public service with the state. She has tackled difficult changes and transitions such as implementation of MyCalPERS, PEPRA, and leading our data teams through Y2K. Her vision to deliver excellent customer service as an efficient and cost-effective manner has provided pension security for our members and our employers. Donna, will you please join me on the stage? Donna, on behalf of the full board, we would like to present this resolution to you. I think I have it upside down. Present this resolution to you for all of your fine work and number of years of service to CalPERS. So let's get a picture.
Thank you, Mr. President. It seems like since I announced my retirement in mid-September, we've been doing a lot of celebrating. And those of you that work with me know that I'm usually not with a loss of words, but certainly today is a major milestone for me in my life, in my career, and for my family. So I first want to thank the Board of Administration for all of the work that we've done together. As I mentioned yesterday in the Pension and Health Benefits Committee meeting, it's been a pleasure to have worked with you on so many legislative and regulatory changes, as well as a number of strategic and policy issues. And I think although together we've tackled a lot of major and difficult initiatives, certainly always the intent was coming from a place to ensure that change that was made was always in the best interest of all of our members. I want to also take a moment to thank all of the executive team. It has been a real honor and privilege to have worked with all of you. Some of you I've worked with longer than others, but certainly this team has been great. We've done a lot over the last couple of years together, and certainly, again, I wish you all the best. I know that every decision that we make and that you will make going into the future will always be in the best interest of the system and our members as well. I also want to thank the stakeholders who are here, who have been here to support a lot of the discussions that we've had over the last couple of years, especially in the Pension and Health Benefits Committee. We've listened to you. We've implemented a lot of the really good ideas that you've had, and certainly I hope that we've made a difference in the partnership that we have with our stakeholders and the implementation of change. I also want to thank all of the team members throughout CalPERS. The success that we've had in the areas of customer service couldn't have been done without a lot of the collaboration and the partnerships that we've created throughout the entire organization. And there was never a time when we reached out and asked for support where we didn't have it. And certainly I, too, want to thank all of you for helping to lead the teams through success. As I leave, I look out in the audience and I have very strong leaders, very strong team leaders. And I know that the organization and our customers, our members, our employers are going to be in great hands. The teams here are very knowledgeable. I was asked early on what kept me here for 21 years, and it's the culture of the organization. It is our core values. It is the important mission of CalPERS. And it really is about the engagement of all of our team members and the ability to work together as a team. So with that, I just wanted to thank you all for this honor of having a board resolution. In the spirit of diversity, I wish you all Emelikalikimaka Ho'olamaki which is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And this isn't the end, and I wish you Ahoa Kai Kako, which is until we meet again. Thank you all.
Thank you, Donna.
Oh my goodness. So you have all been a wonderful extension of my family, my Ohana. Those of you that know me really well know that Ohana is extremely important to me. It's about family. It's about your neighbors, your community, the people that you work with. But a big part of my career, my success, my ability to come to work every day and to give everything that I can has really been a lot of credit to my family. My husband, he is here today, Alan, with the video. Some of you recognize Alan. Alan had about a 3.5-year stint here at CalPERS, and he is also retiring at the same day. On the same day, we're both retiring together. But you know, my family has been through a lot when you have a career as long-standing as ours have been for the two of us. And so I just want to extend a thank you to my family. They can't be here today. My son was recently deployed into active duty, but I believe that he is on the webcast watching, and so is my daughter. So, Alan, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for celebrating my retirement, and I look forward to the many wonderful years that we will have in retirement together. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Donna, and good luck on your travels and destinations, wherever they may take you, you and your family. Why don't we, at this time, take a 15-minute break to enjoy networking and coffee and cakes in the forum at the auditorium. Okay. Okay, we're going to reconvene our meeting. The next item on the agenda is the Chief Executive Officer's report. I'll call on Ms. Frost for that.
Thank you, President Jones, and good morning, members of the board. I'd like to start by thanking you all for attending yesterday's winter gathering. I know that's an opportunity each year that the board and the team here at CalPERS can have some more personal interaction, and I know the team really looks forward to doing that. It was also just a nice time out from the day-to-day workload to be able to wish everyone a happy holiday season. The CalPERS Chorus this morning did a wonderful job, as they usually do. And I think it's worth mentioning that this is a choir that practices on their own time. And they represent CalPERS at a number of events around Sacramento, including a holiday performance that they did earlier this week at the Capitol building. And I would also like to take just a moment to thank Mona Pascal Rogers for her service. I don't know if she's still here. To this board. In the year that she has been with us, her impact has really been quite significant. She played a leadership role in much of the board governance work that happened here over the last year. And I think she played had a key voice on guiding board decisions throughout the year. And I know her next roles, and many of you know what her next roles are. I think they certainly recognize her many talents. So on behalf of all of us at CalPERS, the CalPERS executive team, and the 2 million members we serve, we want to say thank you to her and her service. I'd also like to thank Donna for her service to the organization. This one's pretty tough. Donna and I have become quite good friends during my 3 years here. And I think what you can see in the way that she spoke about her 21 years at CalPERS and her 35-year public service career, that there is a real strong commitment to public service. And for Donna, she is someone who always represents not only the customer or the member, but she also represents her teams quite well. And I think her employee engagement survey results are quite reflective of her leadership abilities. Donna has made many friends in the organization, outside of the organization. She sat on she sat on the CalPERS board, and I think represented CalPERS quite well with all of the county systems as well. So I think she'll always be known for her leadership traits, but also, frankly, for her kindness. We will miss her very much. We've been saying goodbye to her now for a couple of months, and we're down to our last farewells, as this will be her last week with CalPERS. So we wish you well, Donna, and I know you and Alan will make the most out of your retirement. So moving on to this week's business. On Monday, we did hold the final investment committee workshop. This time it was on the private asset classes or private markets. And as we've been discussing for months now, the private markets are really critical to the portfolio. And I think Ben has done a quite good job of explaining why private assets are important in order for us to hit our 7% return target. We also recognize that many other investors are equally attracted to the private markets, so it's quite competitive. However, we will be patient, we'll be thoughtful about where we put our members' money, and make sure that any investment we do really aligns with the values that we have here at CalPERS. On Tuesday, we wrapped up our mental health discussions with our large health plans, and I think this was, again, another opportunity for us to make sure that we're spending the right time on key issues that are impacting the members of this system. Given that about 1 in 5 people will rely on mental health services in their lifetime, it's clear that we must continue our focus in this area. Turning to some outreach activities, 2 weeks ago, I participated on a panel discussion for the California School Boards Association at their annual education conference and trade expo. Like many of our employers, schools face significant budget challenges and constraints, so this is a good opportunity to not only hear their concerns, but also to really lay out the top priorities for this system. This was another place where that 20-year look back that we had created about how did CalPERS from a super-funded status, and I'll air quote superfunded status at 128%, why is the system still roughly 70% funded today? So building that waterfall, if you will, to explain the past 20 years, but more importantly, really looking at the 10-year look forward. And I think that those were very meaningful conversations with school boards. Last week, I did have 2 more engagements. The first one was with the League of California Cities. I was joined by Board Member Middleton for a panel discussion on pension issues issues facing governments or local agencies. I focus my remarks on the key risks to the system, including the employer's ability to pay benefits. We know that employer affordability is something that's in our 5-year strategic plan. It's something we carefully watch for, and you've certainly heard from a number of employers throughout the last 2 years, I would say in particular, that are really concerned about their ability to continue to pay for the contribution rates. I also mentioned that the Pension Outlook Planning Tool was rolled out at the Education Forum, and this is one of the tools that the public agencies can use to do their own forecasting around contribution rates. So as they're thinking about their budgets 1, 3, and 5 years, they now have a tool in their hands that they can do that on their own in a self-served way. For Ms. Middleton's part, I think she was able to provide insights on the board's duties, your responsibilities, all of the work that you have been doing over this last year, and how the decisions that you are making, how they affect those municipalities. A couple of days later, last Friday, thank you, Ms. Taylor, I also spoke with the board of SEIU Local 1000 at their quarterly board meeting. And I was honored to be able to talk at that event, and got a call from their president, Yvonne Walker, and so really appreciated her outreach to me. I spoke for about 20 minutes, just generally about the state of the pension system, but it was a group that was very engaged. The Q&A, the question and answer period, went on for quite some time, and it ranged from topics of, why are defined benefits important, what's CalPERS doing to protect defined benefit programs, to investments and divestments. And so I thought it was very worthwhile time that I got to spend with that group. And then coming up next month is the first ever stakeholder forum on January 22nd. That will be held here. We're looking forward to providing our stakeholders with information on key issues around health, around pensions, and around sustainability of the fund, and also having some very constructive dialogue. And I know that many of you will be interacting in that session as well. So I'll close now with the investment performance year to date these are as of October 31st. The preliminary 1-year rolling return is 11.8. The 3-year return is 9. The 5-year return is 6.5. The 10-year return is 8.6. And the 20-year return is 8.1. And then finally, I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday season and a successful new year in 2020. As you know, our CalPERS headquarters and regional offices will be closed on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And that does conclude my remarks, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, see no questions. Thank you for the report, Ms. Frost. The next item on the agenda is the action consent items. Do I have a motion? Motion by Ms. Taylor, second by Mr. Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, the item passes. The next item is information consent items. I have no request to remove anything, so we would move on to committee reports and actions. The first one is Investment Committee. For that, I call on the chair, Mr. Fechner.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Investment Committee met on December 16, 2019. The committee approved the following. Agenda item 7A, staff's revisions with additional edits as directed by the chair to the private equity and real assets program policies. The committee received reports on the following topics. A report regarding CalPERS climate-related financial risk, the annual report on external managers' compliance with the responsible contractors policy, Wilshire's annual financial analysis of CalPERS divestments, and the 4th investment education workshop, an overview of private markets. The chair directed staff to expand the climate-related financial risk report and a member request to a calendar an item regarding divestment in 2020. The committee heard public comment on the following topics: current investment strategy and risks, the climate-related financial risk report, and labor issues related to the responsible contractor policy. At this time, I'd like to share some highlights of what to expect at the March Investment Committee meeting. The first reading proposed changes to the total fund policy and an update on CalPERS governance and sustainability strategy. The next meeting of the Investment Committee is scheduled for March 16, 2020 in Sacramento, California. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fechner. The next item is the pension and health benefits. For that, I call on the chair, Mr. Fechner.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Pension Health Benefits Committee met on December 17, 2019. The committee received reports on the following topics. The committee received an additional update on mental health issues and treatment among CalPERS members. The committee received public comment regarding changes to the federal budget bill that may impact CalPERS, network discussions in Santa Barbara County, and the recent mental health presentations. The chair directed staff to research whether the PERS Select mobile application can be used to help identify eligible members for the Future Moms program. Report back to the committee on the following items: mental health challenges that were discussed during the December meeting, what percentage of the increase in national mental health providers are in California, the average cash rate for mental health reimbursement by metropolitan statistical area, and whether members are paying a higher cost share when using an out-of-network mental health provider. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the March PHBC meeting. The committee will receive updates on health open enrollment results, the CalPERS long-term care program, the PERS Select value-based insurance design, retiree cost of living, and review the Pension and Health Benefits Committee delegation. The next committee of the PHBC is scheduled for March 17th, 2020 in Sacramento, California. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fechner. There was no meetings for the Finance and Administration Committee, Performance, Compensation, and Talent Management, Risk and Audit, and Board Governance, so therefore there are no reports. We will now move to action agenda item 9, and we have Mr. Sharad Shah, the board's independent board counsel, on the phone. Mr.
Yes, good morning. Happy holidays, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. So for this item, I call on the Vice President, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt the proposed decisions at agenda items 9A1 through 12 with the minor modifications argued by staff to agenda items 9A7 and 12.
It's been moved by Ms. Taylor. Is it second by Mr. Miller? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item passes.
And I move to deny the petitions for reconsideration at agenda items 9B, 1, and 2.
Moved by Ms. Taylor, second by Mr. Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we go to information agenda items. State and federal legislation update. Mr. Brown. Oh, thank you, Mr. Shah. I think.
Good morning, Mr. President, board members. Danny Brown, CalPERS team member. Starting with the state update, not a lot has happened since I was here last month. The legislature will return to session on January 6th, and then they'll have the month of January to pass out any of the two-year bills that are still sitting in the House of Origin. We're not anticipating that any of the bills that will be taken up in January will have a significant impact on CalPERS, but we'll definitely be monitoring closely. We'll probably spend most of January trying to reconnect with key members of the legislature and their staff, and then just providing them an update on what our priorities are for the year. Moving to the federal side, where there has definitely been a lot of activity, the big news is that the Congress has reached a deal on the 12 remaining appropriation bills. In fact, the House took them up yesterday and passed them out, and now the Senate will take them up in the next couple of days, and we anticipate that the President will sign it before the continuing resolution expires on Friday. And I guess they were in the holiday spirit because they did load it up like a Christmas tree with a number of non-appropriation items. The good news for us is they did include several of the health care taxes that were part of the Affordable Care Act, such as they repealed the excise tax, the health insurance tax, and the medical device tax. I know that CalPERS has been, actively engaged on trying to repeal or modify the excise tax since the ACA was passed. So that's good news that finally happened. The spending deal also included the CREATES Act, which will make it easier for generic and biosimilar drugs to come to market, and this is something that we did send a support letter on when it was part of Senate Bill 340. And finally, the deal did include some provisions of the SECURE Act, which was a bipartisan pension-related bill, which was trying to provide some incentive for people to save for retirement. Most of that deal applies to, small private businesses and individuals. but it does have a provision that will increase the age to start taking required withdrawals from pension plans from 70 and a half to 72. So this will be something that we'll need to conform our laws with that provision. That kind of covers what was included in the budget proposal, but I did want to, or the budget bill, but I did want to just kind of touch on two things that weren't included that we've been talking about a lot, and that is balanced billing and lowering prescription drug cost. There actually was some movement over the last several weeks on balanced billing. The chair of the Senate Helps Committee, Senator Lamar Alexander, reached an agreement with the chair and ranking member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee on balanced billing. And there was actually even reports that that might be thrown into the budget bill, but obviously that didn't happen. There still may be an opportunity next May. As part of the budget deal, it included what they call Medicare and Medicaid extenders, and the bill limited some of those extenders to just 5 months, which means that there's now an opportunity for a must-pass piece of legislation in May, and this could be a vehicle for more health care proposals. So I think there's a lot of talk that they could throw the balanced billing agreement in there, as well as some lower prescription drug costs legislation. Speaker Pelosi, her drug pricing bill passed out of the House earlier this month. Of course, it was on partisan lines, and the Senate is not planning on taking it up. Senator Grassley is still working on his prescription drug bill, and I think at some point the Speaker and Senator Grassley will have to reach some kind of compromise if they want to get something done. So I think there is a good chance that balanced billing could get done in May. I think it's less likely that they can reach an agreement on prescription drug costs, but this will be something that we will be looking to engage in early next year. And then the last thing is I just want to bring to your attention a couple of support letters that we sent out earlier this month. The first was on H.R. 2534 on the Insider Trading Prohibition Act by Representative Hines of Connecticut. That passed out of the House this month on a vote of 410 to 13. It would prohibit certain securities trading and related communications by those who possess material and non-public information. We also sent a letter to the Senate Banking Committee Chair Crapo and the Ranking Member Brown expressing our support on H.R. 5084. That's improving corporate governance through Diversity Act, and then we're encouraging them to take that bill up in their committee. This bill would require public companies to annually disclose the voluntary and self-identified racial, ethnic, gender, and veteran status of their board of directors, nominees, and senior executives. It also creates an advisory group to recommend strategies to increase diversity in these leadership positions. Board diversity is obviously an engagement priority for us, so then we will be something that we'll be focusing on next year to try to get that moved through the Senate. With that, concludes my report, and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Perez.
Good morning, Mr. Brown. On H.R. 4527, the expanding healthcare options, do you have an idea whether or not that's, God bless you, whether or not that's going to go anywhere?
I'm sorry, what number was that?
4527?
Probably not. I think what we tried to kind of included a number of the Medicare for all type of proposals out there just to kind of give you the flavor of what's being discussed. I mean, it's hard to know what may happen. I think a lot of this is being set up to whether or not there's any change in the administration after the next election. But I think some people, rather than go to Medicare for all for everybody, maybe start with folks over 50, or maybe just law enforcement over 50. So I think that it's hard to tell what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a long discussion. There's a lot of different ideas out there.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Taylor.
I wasn't going to ask this question, Mr. Brown, because I kind of know the answer, but H.R. 3623, Climate Risk Disclosure Act, I assume that it probably will pass the House and not go any further?
That's probably correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, baby steps.
Baby steps. All right. I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no additional questions, thank you, Mr. Brown. Next item on the agenda is summary of board direction. Ms. Frost.
I didn't record any.
Neither did I.
Okay, good.
Okay. So now we go to public comment. We have a few people that have put in a request to speak. I'll call the first two, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and the mics will be here on my left. The first two, Mr. Darby and Ms. Jacobs. And the timer is right below me here to gauge your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, I think I'm going to go first. You may want to go first. Oh, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. Al Darby, President, Retired Public Employees Association. I decided to expose a little bit of my good-natured side today and wish you a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, whatever's appropriate for the board. And I also want to say that the work you and the CalPERS staff are doing is very much appreciated by our members, and we commend your efforts despite the issues we sometimes have that stakeholders sometimes raise from time to time. I want to express kudos to the board for the probing questions posed to the mental health HMO folks yesterday. It was very enlightening, and I think exposed some of the shortcomings in the current system there. We especially want to thank Donna Lum for her stellar career and all of the special efforts she has made for our members. There have been many times when we ask her to do special things for individuals, and she's always come through for us. Appreciate her very much, and also we ask that she become a member of our PEA, and we'll provide her with an application for that purpose. And it is okay to be a member of more than one retiree association. I want to reiterate our concerns about private equity in view of the recent reports of some of the dry powder now being infused into the system and inflating the cost of PE acquisitions and the resultant diminution of profits that's probably going to occur. Also, we want to reiterate our hope that the global equity portfolio has been rebalanced to get full benefit of the recent and ongoing stock market run-up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darby.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's morning, isn't it? Good morning. My name is Willette Hughes Jacobs. I'm retired on an industrial disability from the Department of Developmental Services. I have been attempting to get my pension from my deferred earnings for the last 20 years. I have yet to receive my money. In 2002, I filed a litigation against this, not this particular board, but another board. They failed to appear to the court and answer the litigation. They solicited the assistance of the Attorney General's office, who could not represent the state, could not represent CalPERS because it only involved a private pension litigation regarding my funds. Since the filing of the lawsuit in 2002, I have been arrested. I have been I've been declared a vexatious litigant. I have been denied the right to access the court based on actions of the Attorney General's office, who was not the legal attorney of record. Judge Candy, O'Hannison, and Chang established that the Attorney General's office was not the legal attorney of record and reinstated our case. And in the reinstatement of that case, the court said, I wish I had it right here. The court had established that the case was not dismissed as proffered in 2003 by the court. The court established that the case is open and active and made my lawsuit against CalPERS the lead case and the writ case against Robert Fechner as the other case. They were consolidated. Default has been entered against CalPERS and default has been entered against CalPERS and Rob Fechner. And the reason we don't have it is because of these 22 memos right here from the court. And I'm going to read it to you. For your information, I've instructed Tamara Phyllis Center to reject the defaults on Davis matter and use these exact words. The case has been dismissed, and moreover, jurisdictional service has not been accomplished. In addition, from this point forward, we have been asked to keep a copy of documents rejected in the file and staple the documents returned form, reject form. And it talks about the yellow copy to them and the legal record of what exactly was submitted and rejected each time should it be needed in the future. As you know, we have also been requested to document each time they appear in our offices and try to resubmit the same defaults. If they come to you with these items in the future, simply take it and say, we will review it even if it's the exact same item, and follow the exact same process again. This will create a paper trail showing how many times we have rejected the same thing. Get it? 22 memos by the clerks of the court denying the default. CalPERS never appeared. The Attorney General appeared on their behalf. They couldn't appear. I cannot even get in court. I hired an attorney because CalPERS had me declared a vexatious litigant, and I want to read a letter from Donna Lim rejecting my money.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Sorry, your time is up. So we need to have other people come in who have requested to speak in those chairs where you're sitting.
Okay, so then basically I have no options because under Davenport, it clearly says that none of my money can be used to fund any portion of the benefit.
We can't discuss legal matters here, ma'am.
So you guys do this every time I come in here? Every time?
I'm going to call up the next 3 speakers.
Okay, so from here on out, now I'm going to file fraud against the system. I'm taking everything I have to the newspaper, and I'm charging the Attorney General with fraud and corruption in this system as well. Because the court added themselves into a private pension litigation. They added themselves into my litigation in order to bring the state of California back into my litigation. You guys can sit there 20 years. Not Becky, you know you have a default against you.
I'm going to ask you.
Rodriguez as your attorney never appeared, ever. You guys are capping benefits at 50% or less of anyone who retired under the age of 40. I mean, under the age of 40, and that includes me and thousands of others. That's why you won't let me come forward. It's pathetic that you took $31,920 out of my account, wrote off my years of service, and told me I'm only entitled. Ma'am,
I've advised you that your time was up. I'm going to ask you to be escorted if you don't. I'm going to ask that you be escorted if you don't leave.
By your security.
I'm giving you one more chance to move on your own, or else I'm going to have you escorted.
I'm leaving now. I don't think I can listen. Gave you warning. This board knows. So anybody who conspired with others and failed to do anything about it is a part of the conspiracy from the beginning to the end. Stealing people's money is not okay. Thousands of us. Thousands of us.
I'll invite the next 3 speakers up, Ms. Jenkins, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Behrens. If you could come up, and you each will have 3 minutes. Mr. Johnson, can you, and Mr. Behrens?
Good morning. Deb Jackins, California School Employees Association. Thank you, President Jones. Happy holidays to the board. CSEA, on behalf of our retirees and our active members, would also like to congratulate Donna Lum on her retirement. We're not providing accolades to Donna Lum because she's always agreed with us or provided everything we've ever asked for, but because she's built the team that you see behind you who will carry forward many of the things that she has set in place for us. We have some unique things, as Marcy articulated in her comments about the School Boards Association. The schools have some unique circumstances that interact with CalPERS, and Donna Lum has assisted us in making sure that we have all of the resources that we need to address those, whether that's the 30 Saturday seminars where we pay for facilities and she provides the staff to come to those to speak solely to the benefits that are provided under the schools pool, whether that's the unique circumstances where we're at the bargaining table trying to mitigate the damages from a CalPERS audit, or trying to get employers to adhere to the law that may have been in place, you know, recently since the 70s, that's been there since the 70s, but we're still not adhering to, or whether it's the unfortunate circumstance of a member's death, a fire, or a retiree who has accidentally exceeded the 960-hour rule. Donna's made sure we've had all of those resources that we need to address those concerns, and we will look forward to this team behind us and making sure that that stays in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, President Jones, members of the board, Tim Behrens, President of the California State Retirees. I wasn't sure under action consent items 6B, board travel approvals, whether that was for future travel approval or past travel.
Future.
Future?
Yes.
Okay, then I was just going to remind you that you're going to start reporting out so we can find out the value of your travels, and I appreciate that. So with that, happy holidays, and I'm looking forward to a better 2020 and the funding for our CalPERS pensions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Neil Johnson. I represent Service Employees International Local 1000. More of these comments are more my own. I want to thank Donna Lund for her, and it's not trying to sound like a broken record, but her long dedicated service to the members of this organization, both the staff and development of the staff, but also to the 1.8 million or so members of the PERS system for providing quality services through some very trying times. I'll never forget all the discussions over the pension resumption project about 6-7 years ago, and the amazing wait times people had to go through, and how Donna showed real leadership in moving through that morass, and for that I thank her and for other things over the last 20-some years. I also want to thank Mona Pascal-Rogers, who is no longer a member of the board. Unfortunately, she had a brief period on the board, so some of the things you could have done will never happen, or at least she won't be involved in them. But I think she did a good job both on this board and the State Personnel Board in representing or providing service to the members of the PERS system, to the taxpayers, and to employees of the state of California. And for that, I thank her. With that, happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Okay. So that concludes the public comments, and I would just like to, on behalf of the board, extend a happy holiday to all of our 3,000 staff members and our 1.9 million members and our 3,000 agencies that we serve. So have a wonderful holiday. And with that, this meeting is adjourned, and we will convene closed session in 10:45.
Nice.
Okay.